reason I got involved in EDC is, I suppose that because I was recognized maybe as a community leader, having served on the Blue Springs Board of Aldermen before I went to the House of Representatives for 14 years. And when I left the House, I became very actively involved in veteran affairs with the Missouri Veterans Commission and in Washington, D.C., because I am a Vietnam veteran. So I was among the select group of people that were invited to come and start talking about how do we work and make economic development happen the way it should be in Blue Springs. Certainly it wasn't driven by me, it was driven by a collective group of people that saw the need to move economic development out of City Hall and engage the community more by involving local businesses. If you have everybody on the same page, you have all the cylinders clicking the way it should be, then you're going to be a lot more successful than going it alone. As I look back on this community and where we were and where we are today, it's like night and day. When I first came to Blue Springs and moved my family here in 1974, January 1974, Blue Springs was recognized as a bedroom community. Commitment from the people is what's caused this community to thrive the way it is today. A city on the move and on the right track.
Well, my first involvement with the Blue Springs EDC goes back probably to 2004, 2003, before there was a Blue Springs EDC. There was a lot of discussion going on in the community about the need for more business in the community and the best way to serve that. I was approached, I was on the board of the Chamber of Commerce in Blue Springs at the time. I was approached about what did we see in the marketplace and what seemed to be the models that worked well or what communities were going toward. During that process of dialogue, which was several months actually in the making, it was agreed that this would be a good thing to look at the model that worked best for the community. And those models included the function of economic development being a city department, being a private sector completely, or a public-private partnership. So there were a series of meetings, and out of that was really born the Blue Springs EDC, and that model that's still here today, but that goes back 10 plus years ago. Number one, there were a great deal of citizens that wanted to see Blue Springs succeed and grow and move forward. They were in different, I hate to use the word camps, but you had elected officials, you had private sector officials, you had Chamber of Commerce people, you had school district, all kind of different groups. And out of that was the idea of bringing those stakeholders that represented every part of the community together. I think the structure, what it does, it takes the best of all parts and blends it together. You need city elected official involvement because they represent the authority, if you will, of the community, but they also represent the voters of the community. So you have a constant feedback that way as well. I think having the school district engagement is huge. As many people know, that many people come to a community because of school districts, and Blue Springs has seen that history for many, many years. A very, very high quality, high performing district, both academically, everything, sports-wise, everything. That's really a great one. Then the private sector businesses, because they had certain needs and desires they wanted, and the way they do business. So you created a model of what was the best and desirous for all parties. I think most successful communities, and you can define successful a lot of different ways, but if it's purely from the lens of a traditional economic development deals, if you will, or you're in play for many times, the thing I think that you need is you need to have staff and a team, not just staff, city officials, volunteers, people that understand their role, that they can move fast, and in a minute's notice, you can almost like a SWAT team. They can be called together to help put together a package and think of things like title search, survey, phase 1, state historic preservation officer review, geotechnical, what's the proximity of utilities, the capacity of all the utilities, pricing point, firm price. Is it for sale or is it lease? Adjacency, compatibility, zoning, on and on and on, proximity of fire stations, response time, hospitals, all of that. What all that's doing is saying this is the type of information that companies historically would have to do after they bought a piece of property or they put it under option contract to review. And what we're seeing is the speed of product for them is being reduced by their client request or clients themselves, so they don't have time. If you can show we've already done this legwork, it does a couple things. It saves them time, but it's also, we think, it's a psychological advantage that your community is aggressive and forward-thinking and done the right things to try to stay in the hunt. And what you're trying to do is find a reason not to be eliminated.
I've been with the City of Blue Springs for 16 years, and many people remember that Economic Development Services used to be housed with the City of Blue Springs as a city department. I think it was in 2003 or 2004. I was Assistant City Administrator at that time, and I recall the city was working on a very comprehensive plan to provide redevelopment opportunities for the Highway 7 corridor, spanning from Duncan Road on the north all the way to 40 and 7 on the south. And this is all before your time, as you'll remember, but we spent a lot of time with city staff. We spent a lot of time and resources with consultants who worked on our behalf. And we had this awesome plan that we thought we were going to roll out, and I recall it was pretty vibrant. There was just one problem, and that was we didn't really spend a lot of time including the business men and women and owners along the Highway 7 corridor. And that really proved to be problematic for the city. And we learned a very valuable lesson through that, and that is that you need collaboration, you need buy-in, you need businessmen and women, owners, people who are invested in this community, helping to define the vision and the mission. One of the things that makes the Blue Springs EDC unique and different, and I'm going back to 2004, 2005 when we were going through this process, was the understanding by local leaders that there needed to be collaboration. And it wasn't about City Hall or city staff making decisions, but it was about including people in the community to help define the vision, to help define the strategies, the goals, and the policies, and to give them the opportunity to have some ownership about our economic development future. And as I look and survey the economic development landscape, I see three key areas that we probably need to focus on. One is maintaining and expanding our infrastructure in order to meet the needs of our businesses and the needs of our citizens. We've made some great investments in our infrastructure in recent years, but as federal and state funds continue to decline, there's going to be increased pressure on local leaders, businesses, and citizens to help close some of those funding gaps. We need to be positioned to address those, and we need to understand that that's just going to get worse into the future. The second thing I think we need to focus on is we need to be innovative. We need to be quick to respond, to change and adapt to the changing business models and new trends that emerge in the industry. Time is money, and businesses are going to want less bureaucracy, and they're going to want more creative problem solving.
I got involved in the EDC originally. I was asked to be part of the focus group to discuss ways that we could improve the business growth and climate in Blue Springs. As a community bank, we were investing in the area, and our customers and family and friends had been there for years, and it was kind of the right time that we needed to sit down and talk about how to do this better, how to partner between the city and the private sector for growth. The process started to bloom when we had the business and civic folks that were invited to brainstorm over about a year and a half on what do we need to do, where do we need to go, how do we need to work together better. And that created the concept of this model for the EDC. We put together plans as a partnership between the city and the private sector in terms of how we spur growth, rather than just trying to be a place where citizens can come to get questions answered. We needed to be more visionary in terms of what do we see in the market, where do we need to be, how do these things put together, using the city's resources, using the private resources. I would like to encourage the board to continue to think above normal day-to-day actions and think in terms of what do we need to do without egos to grow our city, to be part of something that improves the life of our community, and never forget that charge that we used in the early days, bonsai.
Well, I first got involved with the Blue Springs EDC by invitation of Mayor Ross. I had previously been involved in City Council, and the mayor suggested that he would like to have me join EDC board. I certainly became aware of EDC while serving on the City Council. While I was on the City Council was a period of time when we were approving the Adams Dairy Shopping Center, and the bond issues for that was a major issue at that point in time. This was a time when the economy was slow. It was difficult for the developer to get money and funding, and therefore the use of bonds to support it. And that certainly illustrates the importance of economic development in the city. And I think, to me, one of the big advantages of the structure of EDC being both a public-private partnership is having private investors. It leverages public dollars so that you can accomplish much more than when EDC was part of the city. And I think that has made a huge difference. I think EDC has made a number of contributions to the city of Blue Springs. I think one of the strengths of EDC has been its multiple prong approach, getting the involvement of the city, the chamber, Central Jackson County Fire Department, and the school district, all working together. And I think that's been one of its strengths. Some of the things that occurred, I was involved with while I was chair of the board, one was the education task force, where our objective was to facilitate communication between the various education groups within the city and the business community. One of the things that came out of that was our program with Project Lead the Way. Another program, Grow Blue Springs, I'm not sure when that started with EDC, but roughly while I was on the board or before then. And again, it's an approach to help entrepreneurs grow in Blue Springs, to help them develop, to help them network and be part of the business community and grow our city.
I got involved in the EDC because of what was going on in the city at that time. I was involved on the board of directors with the Chamber of Commerce. There were issues involving economic development going up and down on the TIF project on Highway 7 that were important issues to our members, chamber members, and businesses in town. And the city was not equipped. The economic development structure was not prepared to assist with that effort. There was obviously a hole there, a better way to do business that we had not found or approached at that point. I think to take a look back at where we were in 2004 when we started thinking about what does the future look like, or how do we build this community in a way that is most positive for us as citizens and for the businesses that are already here. The Chamber of Commerce commissioned a retail study back then, and found that we were 1 million square feet of retail shy of what our need was, and those dollars were going to other communities. There were, at that point, just to think about what did 7 Highway look like? What did it look like down south? What did 40 and 7 look like? And there's been a lot of changes. I've seen a progression since the founding of the Economic Development Corporation in our community of a change of thought, or a change of the approach that the community has to economic development. Either accelerate and move forward, you stay where you are, you start falling back. What we need to do is make sure that we're all coming to the table, that we're having the same thoughts, that we are bringing our minds together to make plans for the future, to talk about what our future looks like, what the development steps are, to make sure that everyone remains engaged. So this is my time capsule look. This is the words of encouragement that I'm reaching out to future EDC members, board members, community investors, and the leaders of the city of Blue Springs. Keep going, it's working. The foundation that we've laid is something to build on. The city has great opportunities over the next 5 years for not only new development, but also for redevelopment throughout the community. We have green spaces on the north side of town and on the south side of town. We have redevelopment opportunities along 40 Highway. We have businesses that are looking to expand. The challenge of those opportunities is thinking and planning ahead. And I think it's important for the Economic Development Corporation, investing members, key stakeholders in the city of Blue Springs to plan for development.
As we take a look at this journey, there's been some successes and then there have been some disappointments. You know, one of the big disappointments, we were not able to connect with the University of Missouri, Columbia. But what that did is provided us some opportunities to seek other ways of doing what we had intended to do with that. And I think in the near future, you're going to see some of those things announced. There are some opportunities that I'm working on right now that we don't know if it's going to bear fruit or not. But if you don't plant the tree, you never will bear fruit. One of the things we as community leaders need to focus on now is looking for more developable land in Blue Springs. No business is going to wait 3 or 4 years for you to get it ready for them, because there are other people out there waiting for that opportunity to snatch you up and grab you that already have those things in place. As you bring all these minds together, then you're able to come up with solutions. And that's what makes it so great when you have total community engagement. Because right now, it's a call to action. We have to talk, but talking won't get it done. You have to have a call to action. And so not only will I encourage everybody to get involved that's already involved, and encourage other people to get involved, but I encourage you to let's roll our sleeves up and let's get busy. Keeping it a city on the move and on the right track.